Ryan stepped off the shuttle and onto the surface of Zarathus, his boots crunching on the pale, glittering soil. The planet's spaceport sprawled before him, a mixture of alien technology and bright crystalline architecture. Ships of all shapes and sizes hovered and docked, their engines humming with energy that was almost musical. He paused, taking it all in, letting his eyes wander over the sea of beings bustling through the port. This was not his first alien world, but Zarathus had a charm of its own. He had traveled here for work, to deliver a report for Earth's Interplanetary Council, but he couldn't resist taking a few hours to explore the spaceport before heading to the palace. Humans were rare here, and he enjoyed seeing the surprised looks on alien faces when he passed. Some smiled, some frowned. All stared. Ryan's grin widened. "Guess I still stand out," he murmured to himself, pushing his dark hair out of his eyes. He always enjoyed the little attention he got when he wandered into foreign worlds. As he wandered through the marketplace, the smells and sounds of Zarathus washed over him. Vendors sold glowing fruits, exotic metals, and fabrics that shimmered with a faint light. Music from an alien instrument floated through the air, vibrating in tones humans had never heard before. Ryan's curiosity pulled him from stall to stall. He greeted some merchants with a smile, offering jokes in his simple, easygoing human tone. Most of them ignored him politely, but a few laughed softly, amused by his boldness. And then he saw her, Princess Liara. She stood near a fountain shaped like intertwining stars, her long silver hair cascading over her shoulders, glowing faintly under the alien sun. Her eyes were large, sharp, and a deep shade of violet. She was speaking with her attendants, her posture regal, yet there was a spark of amusement in her expression as she glanced at the crowd. Something about her presence made Ryan pause. "Interesting," he whispered. "Definitely interesting." He watched her, his mind working quickly. Most humans would be intimidated by royalty, especially a royal alien who had never met one before. But Ryan had a habit of flirting with strangers, not out of arrogance but out of curiosity and a love for the unexpected. And here was a stranger unlike any other he had ever met. Summoning his courage, he strolled over, hands in his pockets, keeping his tone light. "Excuse me," he said, flashing a grin. "I couldn't help but notice your fountain seems lonely. Perhaps it needs a human to talk to it." The attendant stiffened, but Liara's eyes flicked to him, her expression unreadable. There was a pause, the kind that stretched just enough to make Ryan worry for a second. Then, unexpectedly, she smiled. It was subtle but genuine, a spark of amusement that made her seem less like a distant princess and more like a person. "You are bold," she said, her voice smooth and melodic with a cadence Ryan found mesmerizing. Few humans dare approach the royal fountain without an invitation. Ryan shrugged, pretending to be casual. "Well, I guess I'm not like most humans. I like a challenge." "And you seem fascinating." Liara's eyebrow lifted slightly. "Fascinating? Bold claim for someone who just arrived on my planet?" "I don't know," Ryan said, tilting his head. "I've traveled a lot, seen a lot, but something about you makes me think I should pay attention." Her lips curved into a faint smile, more intrigued than offended. "Attention, huh? Do you often speak to strangers this way?" "Only the ones who might be trouble," Ryan replied lightly. "And you might be the most interesting kind of trouble I've found in a while." Liara studied him for a long moment. There was a flicker of amusement and perhaps curiosity in her violet eyes. She had met many humans before, but none had dared speak to her so freely, and certainly none had flirted with her without fear. Most humans were either cautious, overly respectful, or clumsy. Ryan was neither. He was audacious, confident, and strangely charming. "Very well," she said at last, her tone carrying the weight of her royal authority, yet softened with amusement. "You may remain here, but do not overstep your welcome." Ryan bowed exaggeratedly, smiling. "Wouldn't dream of it, Your Highness. I promise to be perfectly contained." She let a small laugh escape. It was soft, but it rang clearly through the courtyard. Ryan felt a strange warmth. He realized that for the first time in a long while, his usual joking and flirting weren't just amusing strangers. They were catching the attention of someone extraordinary. Over the next hour, Ryan found himself wandering through the palace courtyard with Liara, talking about his travels and learning a little about the planet. He discovered that the princess was curious, intelligent, and surprisingly down to earth for someone of her status. She asked questions about Earth, about humans, and about Ryan himself. He answered with honesty, occasionally sprinkling in humor to keep the conversation lively. You know, Liara said, watching him as he described a tiny Earth gadget he carried. Humans are unpredictable. You could be reckless or brilliant or both, Ryan grinned. I'll take that as a compliment. Usually people just call me reckless. You are reckless, she said with a small smirk. But there is charm in it, and perhaps courage. They continued walking, their conversation effortless. Other attendants watched cautiously, unsure what to make of this human who dared to flirt and joke with a princess. But Liara didn't seem to mind. She seemed entertained. As the sun began to dip, painting the sky with swirling shades of pink and gold, Ryan realized he had been talking for hours. He had laughed, shared stories, and even learned a little about the culture and traditions of Zarathis. But soon his obligations would call him elsewhere. He glanced at his watch. Well, he said with a mock sigh, I suppose I should get back to important human duties. But it was enlightening spending time with you. Liara tilted her head, her expression unreadable. There was a long pause, and Ryan felt a strange tension in the air. Indeed, she said finally. Perhaps we will meet again. Ryan smiled. I hope so. Humans are good at surprising people. Sometimes. With a quick bow, he turned to leave, expecting little more than polite farewells. But as he walked away, he had no idea that his light-hearted flirting, his easy confidence, and his unpredictable charm had left a lasting impression on the princess. She was already considering ways to ensure he did not simply leave her planet. Hours later, in the quiet of her private chambers, Liara would issue a command that surprised even her most loyal advisors. Do not let him leave. And that was the moment Ryan's ordinary human curiosity and playfulness set in motion events that neither he nor the princess could have predicted. For Ryan, it had been a day of simple amusement, a flirt, a joke, a stroll through a beautiful alien palace. For Liara, it was the beginning of fascination, intrigue, and the realization that this human might be unlike any other she had ever met. And as the stars began to shimmer in the night sky above Zarathis, the first threads of an extraordinary story were being woven, one that would challenge expectations, defy protocol, and showcase the unexpected strengths of humanity in a galaxy full of wonder and danger. Ryan had just returned to his quarters at the Zarathis spaceport when he noticed something unusual. The doors, which normally opened at the swipe of his identification card, remained firmly closed. Confused, he tapped his card again. Still nothing. Very funny, he muttered, expecting some kind of human-like prank from the other visiting diplomats. But there was no laughter, no movement, just silence. Then the communication screen flickered to life. A familiar face appeared, one of the palace's guards, stern and respectful but unmistakably firm. Ryan, the guard said, Princess Liara has requested your presence. She asks that you not leave the planet at this time. Ryan blinked, a slow grin spreading across his face. Ah, so the princess has sent a personal invitation. Very direct, the guard simply nodded. It is her order. With a shrug and a shake of his head, Ryan left his quarters. He had a feeling this would be an unusual day or night. As the palace hovercraft swept him toward the royal chambers, he couldn't help but wonder how a day that began with casual flirting could escalate so quickly. When he entered the palace, Liara stood near a panoramic window, her violet eyes focused on the glowing city below. She didn't turn immediately, letting Ryan take in the sight of the palace's grand interior. Walls of crystalline light, floors of polished metal, and exotic plants that glowed faintly in the dim light. You are punctual, she said finally, her voice calm but edged with authority. And you are aware that your movements are no longer entirely your own? Ryan leaned casually against the doorway. I'm aware, and I don't mind. Curiosity, after all, brought me here. I'd say this is an unexpected adventure. Liara smiled, though it was subtle. Adventure? She repeated, walking toward him. This is not merely amusement. I want to understand humans, and you in particular, your behavior, your thought processes, your humor. It is unlike anything I have observed. Ryan chuckled. Well, I can't help being me. Humans are unpredictable, sometimes charming, sometimes foolish, but always curious. She tilted her head, studying him. Curiosity can be a dangerous trait. For your species, perhaps it is also a strength. Ryan raised an eyebrow. Dangerous? That sounds dramatic. But yes, I suppose curiosity has served humans well. Most of the time. Liara gestured toward the large observation window. Look at the city below. The council, the advisors, the people of Zarathus. All plan, all follow rules, all predict outcomes. But unpredictability, the kind you display, can disrupt even the most careful designs. And sometimes it can solve problems no one expects. Ryan's grin widened. Well, if that's the case, I guess I should feel important. Important, yes, she said quietly, almost to herself. And perhaps dangerous in a way I find. Intriguing, Ryan laughed lightly. I'll take that as a compliment too. For the next hour, Liara led Ryan through the palace corridors, showing him private galleries, gardens, and chambers that few ever saw. They spoke freely, without the formalities usually required between royalty and outsiders. Ryan's humor and playful manner kept the princess engaged, and she began to relax in a way that surprised even her attendants. They stopped in a grand garden filled with bioluminescent plants, their soft glow illuminating the paths. Ryan crouched near a small shimmering flower, examining it curiously. Is it safe to touch? He asked, reaching toward the plant. Liara observed him carefully. Yes, but humans are clumsy. Handle it gently. He smiled and touched the plant lightly, marveling at the way it pulsed with light. It's beautiful. Reminds me a bit of Earth's glowing jellyfish. But these are stationary. Liara laughed softly. Your species finds beauty in many things. Perhaps that is why you are curious, always reaching beyond the obvious. Ryan straightened, brushing his hands together. Curiosity is a good trait. Leads to discoveries, adventures, and apparently a good amount of trouble. Liara's eyes narrowed slightly, a flicker of thought passing across her face. Trouble indeed. Yet I am learning to enjoy it. As they walked further, the palace attendants watched carefully, unsure what to make of this human who moved through the palace with casual confidence, speaking freely to the princess. Liara herself seemed captivated, her usual caution replaced by interest and amusement. Ryan, she said after a pause, do humans always speak with such boldness to strangers? He grinned. Not always. But when a stranger seems unique, it makes sense to test the waters. I like to see how people react when they're not expecting anything. And your test, she replied, has revealed more than you realize. Humans may seem simple, but there is intelligence, adaptability, and courage hidden beneath your humor. Ryan shrugged modestly. I'll take that as praise. And perhaps a warning, too. Liara's lips curved slightly. Both, you are intriguing, Ryan. That is why I asked my guards to ensure you remain on Zarathus for now. Ryan raised his eyebrows. Ah, so my day of casual flirting has led to imprisonment by royal curiosity? Not imprisonment, Liara corrected softly. Observation, interaction, understanding, perhaps even guidance, Ryan laughed, shaking his head. I suppose that makes sense. Humans are often misunderstood. I can't imagine aliens have it easy either. You are beginning to understand, she said, her eyes reflecting the glowing gardens. And perhaps you are beginning to understand yourself too. They paused at a small pavilion in the garden. Soft light glimmered off the crystalline pillars, and a gentle breeze carried the scent of exotic flowers. Ryan sat on the edge of the pavilion, watching Liara move among the plants with grace. You know, he said thoughtfully, I didn't expect much today. Just a quick look at the palace, maybe a laugh, maybe a story or two. But somehow, I think this day has become something entirely different. Liara studied him quietly. Indeed, you humans, your capacity for unpredictability, for courage, for curiosity, it is remarkable. You see things differently, and perhaps that is why you are so memorable. Ryan grinned. Memorable, huh? That sounds promising. I always aim to leave an impression. Liara laughed softly. You have certainly left one, and now you will stay. For now, there are matters I wish to explore, questions I wish to ask, and I believe you can provide answers in ways others cannot. Ryan tilted his head, amused and intrigued. Questions, answers, sounds like a challenge I accept. But I should warn you, I tend to mix humor with everything I do. Even serious questions get unexpected answers. Liara's eyes sparkled. Then I expect nothing less. Humor can be enlightening. For the next few hours, they engaged in conversations that spanned science, culture, and even philosophy. Ryan shared stories of Earth, his travels, and his observations about life across the stars. Liara revealed insights into her world, the responsibilities of royalty, and the intricacies of Zarathis society. As night fell, the city below the palace glimmered like a sea of stars. Ryan and Liara stood side by side on a balcony, the cool air brushing against their faces. "You humans," she said quietly, "are unlike anything I expected. You are more capable, more daring, more alive than I imagined," Ryan chuckled. "Well, I'll take that as a compliment, and I guess I should thank you for keeping me here. Otherwise, I might have missed this conversation." Liara turned to him, her expression softening. "Perhaps, Ryan, the universe itself conspired to bring you here. To show me, and to show you, something neither of us anticipated." Ryan smiled, feeling the strange pull of curiosity and adventure stronger than ever. "Then I suppose I should stay for now. After all, humans are good at surprises. And it seems we are both in for a few tonight." And with that, the first night of Ryan's unexpected stay on Zarathis began. A night filled with intrigue, playful challenges, and the beginnings of a bond that neither human nor alien could have predicted. The princess, once an untouchable figure of authority, was learning to see Ryan not just as a visitor, but as someone unique, someone extraordinary. And Ryan, the playful human who had arrived for a casual adventure, was beginning to understand that on this planet, flirting had consequences far beyond simple amusement. The morning light spilled over the Zarathi city, casting long shadows across the crystalline spires and softly glowing streets. Ryan woke in his temporary quarters at the palace, still marveling at how a simple day of casual flirting had led him here. He stretched and rubbed his eyes, the events of the previous night replaying in his mind. He had expected more formalities today, but when the doors opened, he was greeted not by an attendant, but by Princess Liara herself. She looked serious, the faint spark of amusement from the previous evening replaced by a determined expression. "Ryan," she said, "I need your assistance. Something has occurred, and your skills may be necessary." Ryan raised an eyebrow, intrigued. "Necessary? That sounds ominous. What's going on?" Liara gestured for him to follow. "A rogue faction has infiltrated our energy control systems. If their plan succeeds, the city could lose power for days, perhaps longer. I need someone who can think differently, who can approach this problem without the constraints my advisors follow." Ryan felt a thrill run through him. A challenge. A real test. Not just words and games, but something that required quick thinking, adaptability, and courage. Humans often thrived in situations others found impossible, and he was about to prove it. He followed Liara through corridors lined with glowing panels and alien designs, eventually reaching a large control room. The room hummed with energy, and holographic displays showed the city's power grid. Liara's advisors worked frantically, but their rigid approach made progress slow. Ryan stepped forward, studying the systems with a mixture of curiosity and instinct. Looks like they've blocked conventional access," he said. "But there might be a way through the auxiliary circuits." One of the advisors frowned. "Those circuits are ancient, barely functional. No human or alien has successfully navigated them in years." Ryan smirked. "That's the point. Humans tend to find solutions in places no one else thinks to look." Liara watched him carefully, her violet eyes full of curiosity. "Then proceed, Ryan. Show us what your species can do." He knelt near a console and began examining the auxiliary circuits, tracing energy flows, identifying weak points, and improvising connections. His hands moved quickly, guided by logic and intuition. Within minutes, he had bypassed several security blocks and created a safe pathway to the energy core. "Impressive," Liara murmured. "You do not merely follow instructions. You think, you adapt, you create solutions." Ryan shrugged modestly. "Humans have to, or we don't survive. Besides, improvisation is half the fun." With Liara and a few advisors monitoring his progress, Ryan navigated the complex system, isolating the rogue faction's interference. His adjustments were subtle but effective, rerouting energy flows and neutralizing potential overloads. The room buzzed with tension as the system stabilized. Finally, with a soft chime, the energy grid returned to normal. Lights glimmered across the city, and the hum of machinery shifted to a steady, secure rhythm. The advisors breathed sighs of relief, while Liara turned to Ryan, her expression a mix of awe and admiration. "You have saved the city," she said simply. "And perhaps more than that. You have proven that humans are capable of extraordinary things, even under pressure." Ryan leaned back, wiping a bead of sweat from his forehead. "Well, I'll admit that was more exciting than any casual flirtation I've had. And I guess it shows that curiosity and a bit of daring can make a difference." Liara's gaze softened. "It does, and it has made an impression on me, Ryan. Not only your skill, but your spirit, your approach to challenges. You remind me why humans are remarkable." Ryan's grin returned, modest but pleased. "Remarkable, huh? I'll take it. Though I didn't expect to impress royalty today, especially not by fixing a problem no one else could solve." Liara laughed softly, a sound that seemed to echo through the control room. "You underestimate the value of your abilities. Courage, ingenuity, humor, all combined, they make you exceptional." The day continued with Ryan assisting Liara and her advisors in further securing the palace systems. Every step he took, every decision he made, revealed more about human resourcefulness and adaptability. Aliens who had doubted the capabilities of humans were forced to reconsider, witnessing firsthand how a single human could impact an entire city. Even the palace guards, who had initially been cautious around him, began to respect Ryan's intelligence and quick thinking. His humor remained intact, making the intense day lighter, but his courage and skill now commanded admiration. By evening, the crisis was fully resolved. The rogue faction had been neutralized, and the energy system secured. Liara walked with Ryan along the palace terraces, the city glowing beneath them like a sea of stars. "You have done more than I anticipated," she said. "Your presence here, it has changed how I see humans. Not merely as outsiders, but as beings capable of ingenuity, courage, and charm." Ryan chuckled. "Charm seems to be leaving quite an impression, huh?" Liara's eyes sparkled with amusement. "Indeed, but it is more than charm. It is your spirit. The way you approach the unknown, the way you act without fear, it is inspiring." Ryan looked out at the glowing city, feeling a sense of pride and connection he had never experienced before. "I guess humans can be useful in more ways than one, even in places far from home." They stood together in silence for a moment, the wind carrying the soft fragrance of alien flowers. Ryan realized that the playful flirting that had begun hours ago had evolved into something deeper. Liara's curiosity about him was no longer just amusement. It was respect, fascination, and perhaps something more profound. Suddenly, an alarm sounded faintly in the distance, a minor warning, nothing critical, but enough to break the peaceful moment. Ryan instinctively moved toward a nearby console, ready to assist again if necessary. Liara watched him, impressed by his readiness. "Your instincts, they are human. Quick, adaptive, fearless. You face situations others might flee from, and yet you find solutions." Ryan shrugged, smiling. "It's what humans do. Curiosity, courage, maybe a little bit of luck. But mostly we just keep moving forward." Liara nodded thoughtfully. "Forward? Yes. That is the essence of humanity, it seems. And perhaps that is why I am drawn to you." Ryan glanced at her, surprised by the honesty in her voice. "Drawn to me? I didn't expect that." She met his gaze steadily. "I did not either. But your actions, your spirit, your way of seeing the world, it is unlike any other human or alien I have encountered. And it has captured my attention." Ryan's grin softened, replaced by a quiet respect. "I suppose the universe has a way of creating unexpected stories. I came here for a simple adventure, and somehow I'm part of something much bigger." Liara's smile returned, warmer now, less formal. "Yes, Ryan, And your story here is only beginning. The bonds you create, the courage you display, they may change not only my perception, but the perception of your species across the stars. For the first time, Ryan felt the weight of his presence on Zarathus, not as a visitor or observer, but as someone who mattered. His humor and playfulness had opened doors, but his courage and ingenuity had solidified his place. He realized that humans, often underestimated, could leave a mark far beyond their expectations. The night deepened, stars glimmering above the palace. Ryan and Liara stood side by side, looking out at a city safe and illuminated. The challenges of the day had revealed more than the strengths of a single human. They had showcased humanity itself, clever, brave, adaptable, and capable of surprising even the most advanced civilizations. "Ryan," Liara said softly, breaking the comfortable silence, "tomorrow. There may be more to do. But tonight we celebrate. You have proven that humans are not merely visitors in the galaxy. They are extraordinary." Ryan laughed, feeling a warmth that went beyond pride. "Extraordinary, huh? That's a high bar, but I'll accept it, especially coming from a princess." Liara's eyes sparkled with a mix of amusement and admiration. "Indeed, and you have my attention, Ryan, not for a moment of frivolity, but for the remarkable person you are." Ryan smiled. The playful charm that had first caught Liara's attention now intertwined with mutual respect. "Well then, looks like this human has found a place where curiosity, humor, and courage are valued. And I think I'm going to like it here." And so, as the palace lights dimmed and the city of Zarathus glimmered below, Ryan and Liara shared a quiet understanding. Their worlds were different, their species unique, but together they had proven that courage, ingenuity, and the human spirit could shine in the darkest and most unexpected places. For Ryan, a day that began with light-hearted flirting had become an extraordinary journey, one that showed the power of human resourcefulness, the respect it earned, and the bond it could create across galaxies. And for Liara, the princess of Zarathus, it was the beginning of a fascination and admiration that would shape her decisions, her perspective, and perhaps even her heart. The morning on Zarathus arrived with a calm clarity. The city sparkled under the soft light of twin suns, reflecting the serenity that had returned after the previous day's crisis. Ryan awoke with a sense of anticipation. Though the palace now felt like a temporary home, he could not shake the excitement of the unknown that lay ahead. When he entered the palace corridors, he was greeted by Liara herself. Today she seemed lighter, almost playful, though her royal composure remained intact. Her violet eyes reflected a mixture of amusement and sincerity. "Ryan," she said, "there is no immediate crisis today. Instead, I wish to continue our exploration of each other's worlds, and perhaps solidify the bond you have begun to create with Zarathus." Ryan grinned. "Solidify the bond, huh? Sounds important. I'm ready. Humans are good at creating connections, and a bit of chaos along the way." Liara laughed softly, a sound that made the palace seem warmer than ever. "Chaos, yes, but effective chaos, if I may say." They began the day by walking through the palace gardens, a labyrinth of glowing flora and flowing streams of crystal-clear water. Ryan listened carefully as Liara spoke about her responsibilities, her people, and her hopes for Zarathus's future. His curiosity, coupled with his ability to ask insightful questions, impressed her further. He didn't just listen. He understood, challenged, and offered ideas that were thoughtful and unexpected. "You humans," Liara said, "have a way of seeing what others overlook. It is valuable and refreshing," Ryan smiled. "Well, we do our best. Sometimes it's luck, sometimes it's experience, but mostly, it's persistence. We don't give up easily." Liara nodded thoughtfully. "Persistence, yes. That is evident. You have shown it through your actions these past days. You are not merely a visitor here, you are remarkable." Ryan felt a quiet pride. The recognition was different from casual admiration. It carried the weight of trust, respect, and genuine fascination. Humans were often underestimated across the galaxy, but here, on Zarathus, his capabilities were appreciated and valued. As they moved through the gardens, an alert suddenly sounded from the palace's communications hub. It was minor, A test of the city's remaining security systems, but enough to keep Ryan on his toes. Without hesitation, he followed Liara to the control room. Ready to assist once more? This will be your final test for now, Liara said with a smile, but it will also reveal the depth of your ingenuity. The control room displayed a series of simulations, potential malfunctions, system overloads, and logistical challenges. Ryan approached each scenario with calm precision, analyzing patterns and applying both logic and creative improvisation. Within moments, he had corrected minor issues and suggested preventive measures that would protect the palace and city from future threats. Liara watched silently, her admiration growing with every decision he made. "It is not merely skill," she murmured. "It is adaptability, foresight, and courage. Humanity is extraordinary," Ryan shrugged modestly. "I just try to think ahead. Humans tend to improvise. If something breaks, we fix it. If we don't know the answer, we find it. It's a habit," Liara nodded. "A habit that has earned my respect and perhaps more." For the next few hours, Ryan and Liara worked together, not as princess and guest, but as partners united by problem-solving, trust, and mutual understanding. By midday, the palace systems were secure, and the city's inhabitants could continue their lives without worry. The rogue faction had been fully neutralized, and the energy grid stabilized beyond previous levels. With the day's challenges complete, Liara led Ryan to a terrace overlooking the city. The twin suns hung low in the sky, casting golden and violet hues across the buildings. The view was breathtaking, but the two humans and aliens stood quietly absorbing the serenity of the moment. "You have changed the way I see my people, my city, and even myself," Liara said softly. "Your presence here has reminded me that courage, humor, and ingenuity are not just human traits. They are universal strengths when applied wisely." Ryan smiled, feeling a sense of fulfillment that went beyond simple accomplishment. "I didn't come here to change anything," he said. "I came to explore, to learn, maybe have a little fun. But I guess humans have a way of leaving marks wherever we go." Liara turned to him, her expression sincere and unwavering. "Indeed, you have left a mark on Zarathis, and on me. Your humor, your courage, your spirit, they are remarkable. I have found myself drawn to you, not only for your skills, but for who you are." Ryan blinked, momentarily speechless. He had expected respect, perhaps friendship, but this was different. "Drawn to me?" he said slowly. "Yes," Liara said simply. "Your presence challenges me, intrigues me, and inspires me. I did not expect to feel this connection, yet here it is." Ryan's grin returned, but softer this time, filled with genuine warmth. "Well, I suppose the universe has a sense of humor. I came here to flirt and have fun, and somehow I ended up in the middle of something extraordinary." Liara laughed softly, a sound that carried a rare warmth. "Extraordinary indeed. And your adventure here is far from over. Zarathis will remember you, Ryan. And so will I." The afternoon passed with more exploration, laughter, and conversation. Ryan discovered hidden parts of the palace, tried unfamiliar foods, and even learned a few alien games that tested his reflexes and strategy. Liara watched him, fascinated by how naturally he adapted to her world, how humans could take the unfamiliar and make it their own. As evening fell, Liara invited Ryan to the palace's observation deck, a space where the galaxy stretched infinitely in all directions. Stars sparkled brilliantly, nebulae swirled, and distant planets shimmered in hues humans rarely saw. "You see this," Liara said, gesturing at the cosmos. "And you realize how vast the universe is, yet even among infinite stars, some beings leave a mark. Humans, perhaps, are one such species, and you are one such human." Ryan gazed at the galaxy, feeling the weight and wonder of her words. "I guess humans can be small in scale but big in impact. We explore, we adapt, we survive, and sometimes we surprise even ourselves." Liara turned to him, her violet eyes reflecting starlight. "And in surprising, you have captured my attention. I asked my guards not to let you leave, Ryan. Not as a whim, but because I see your value, your uniqueness, and I wish to see more, to learn more, with you." Ryan felt a strange mix of pride and humility. He had flirted for fun, as he always did, never expecting that his charm, humor, and human ingenuity would lead to this. But now, standing before the Princess of Zarathis, he understood that humans could inspire admiration, respect, and even affection across the galaxy. "Well," he said finally, Looks like my adventure has just gotten a lot more interesting. I came here for amusement, and somehow I've found friendship, respect, and maybe a little more." Liara smiled, a soft, warm expression that was rare for a princess bound by duty. "Indeed, your presence here matters, not just to me but to Zarathus, and perhaps, Ryan, to your species as well." They stood together, silent but connected, watching the galaxy stretch endlessly before them. The palace glowed beneath them, a symbol of stability, progress, and the unity that could exist between different worlds. "Tomorrow," Liara said quietly, "we begin a new chapter, humans and Zarathus together, learning from one another. And you, Ryan, will be a part of that story." Ryan smiled, feeling the weight of possibility. "Then I suppose it's time for humans to show the galaxy what we can do, one step at a time." Liara nodded. "One step at a time, but with courage, ingenuity, and perhaps a touch of humor, as you have shown." As the stars shimmered above, Ryan realized that his casual flirtation, his curiosity, and his boldness had not only captivated a princess, but had also begun to change the perception of humanity in a faraway world. The adventure had started with laughter, but it had grown into something meaningful, something extraordinary. For the first time, Ryan understood that humans were capable of far more than anyone had imagined. Courage, curiosity, humor, and ingenuity were not just traits, they were a force, one that could inspire admiration, forge connections, and leave a lasting mark across the stars. And standing beside Princess Liara, looking out at the infinite universe, Ryan knew that this was only the beginning. Their journey together, human and alien, playful and serious, curious and courageous, was just starting. The galaxy was vast, full of challenges, wonders, and surprises, and humans were ready to meet it. Boldly, wisely, and with a touch of charm. For Ryan, the playful human who had arrived on Zarathus for amusement, this was no longer just an adventure. It was a story of connection, respect, and the extraordinary power of the human spirit. And for Liara, the princess who had once been distant and untouchable, Ryan had shown her a truth she had never fully realized, that sometimes the most remarkable beings are not the ones born into power, but the ones who choose to act with courage, curiosity, and heart. As the twin suns set and the stars claimed the sky, human ingenuity and alien admiration shone together, a reminder that in the vast universe, humans were capable of greatness and that sometimes, even the simplest flirtation could ignite an extraordinary chain of events.